This is going to be fun.
I'm scared when someone says it's easy, because then if you get it wrong...
No, I said I'm easy. I'm easy. Hello, booktube. I'm Shawn the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel, but actually you're not watching my channel. I think you're going to be seeing this video on Scott and Nelle's channel, Gunpowder, Fiction, and Plot. Hello, Scott and Nelle.
Hi.
Hello,
We are drinking together via Zoom. None of us has to drive home, so we're in the sauce. We're in our cups. And I suggested to them that we do the first line challenge, but unreciprocated. So I'm going to ask them to, I'm going to feed them first lines from books they read years ago. I'm going to the early days of their Goodreads list and see if they can guess the line. If they can't guess it on the first sentence, I might give them, if I'm feeling generous, I might give them a second sentence or two. And let's get started. So Nelle, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Just because it's on Nelle's Goodreads doesn't mean that Scott can't guess too.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe it'll be a competition between them. Shall we see how that goes?
Buzzing.
I'm not buzzing, I'm just going to talk over you.
Here we go. When my mother was pregnant with me, she told me later a party of hooded Ku Klux Klan riders galloped up to our home in Omaha, Nebraska one night.
I've read this one.
I feel like I've read this one a lot.
The mother might be white and the father is black and the child is mixed race, but I can't quite put it together and figure out the book.
Would you like the second sentence?
Yes.
Surrounding the house, brandishing their shotguns and rifles, they shouted for my father to come out.
Go on.
Is it The Vanishing Half?
No, I haven't read The Vanishing Half.
The Vanishing Half.
Is it Malcolm X?
It's Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Oh.
I knew I'd read it more than once. I loved that book. I loved it.
I studied that in my final class to finish my MA studies in Canada for Masters in Literature.
Wow.
And I did a queer reading of that book because it was just it was just laden with queerness.
Was it?
Ooh.
Now I want to have to read it again.
Yeah, I'll send you my paper.
Yeah.
$7.95 plus shipping. Alex Haley actually wrote about stuff that seemed a little bit homoerotic, and I had a field day with that in my final paper for my...
Alex Haley was gay.
Oh, I don't think so, but just, when men are in a room together and sharing stuff, things happen.
Oh, even more curious.
It's a good book, though.
He can write, even if he did copy some of his stuff.
Yes. And also, Malcolm X, super interesting character.
Yeah. So next is one from Scott's Goodreads list. And again, I'm going way back into the ancient history here.
90% of my ancient past is like classics.
So everyone can play.
I feel like it's putting the game on easy, which is good for us, for me.
All right, Scott, are you ready? There's a word in here that I don't necessarily know how to pronounce, but I will do my best. On the first Monday of the month of April, 1625, the small town of Mung, the birthplace of the author of the Romance of the Rose, appeared to be in a state of revolution, as complete as if the Huguenots were come to make a second siege of La Rochelle.
Is it Les Miserables?
No, but you're in the ballpark.
Oh, is it The Hunchback of Notre Dame?
No. And it's also not Madame Bovary.
It's definitely got a French feel to it, doesn't it?
Yep. Would you like the second sentence?
Yeah.
I think it's about a page and a half long, but let me have a sip of wine here. Many of the townsmen, observing the flight along the high street of women who left their children to squall at the doorsteps, hastened to don their armor, and, fortifying their courage, which was inclined to fail, with a musket or a partisan, proceeded towards the inn of the Jolly Miller, to which a vast and accumulating mob was hastening with intense curiosity.
I don't know. I'm going to guess again. I'm probably going to be wrong, but is it The Three Musketeers?
All for one and one for all. Yes. I have not read it. Did you like it?
No, have you been? I much prefer The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas, but I tell you, this was an interesting book for me, not because the book was interesting, because I read it and I didn't like it. And then I read a review of it that said, stop whatever you're thinking. Imagine that the good guys are the bad guys and the bad guys are the good guys, and then proceeds to justify everything. And after that review, I'm like, oh no, this was actually a much better book than I thought.
Wow.
So
I think you've given me a brainwave. I think I'm going to apply the same strategy to my future viewing of your videos. I had a great uncle, my namesake. My middle name is Roy, and I was named after a great uncle, Roy. I never met him. He died 5 years before I was born, and he never married. And I was going to say famous. Our family's not famous, but within our family, there's a famous photograph of him. He was a farmer, bachelor farmer, died at the age of 80, and of him in the field wearing his mother's bonnet. Never married, loved reading. You do the math. I think that's why I'm gay. But anyway, he loved Alexander Dumas. He had all of his books. He had a collected work, apparently leather bound or whatever. I don't know where it went, but I don't have it.
Is that still your favorite?
Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
I think it will always be my favorite because it was the first book that I ever really loved. So every other book that I ever love gets compared to the Count of Monte Cristo. One day I will reread it and go, oh, it's not actually that good. I really hope that I don't have that experience, but I'm a little bit scared to reread it because it is my favorite book and I've only read it once. And I'm afraid it won't measure up to itself.
Especially because you read it quite early in your reading.
Yeah.
I must try him in honor of my namesake great uncle.
Yes. For Roy.
Uncle Roy in the bonnet.
Just makes me want to buy Shawn a bonnet.
Yes, please. Nell, are you ready?
Yeah, maybe.
This one's going to be fun. There were once 3 children called Joe, Beth, and Franny.
It's not Franny, it's Fanny.
It's Franny.
Not when I was a kid.
Unless the Kindle preview has got a typo.
They've changed it.
Mm.
In the 80s, it was Joe, Beth, and Fanny.
So you know what it is, obviously.
Maybe there's a UK and a US version.
Oh, maybe.
Because
Fanny meaning butt or ass. They changed it because of that.
Maybe.
Yeah. In Australia, it means front bum.
Yeah.
It means
front bum.
Lady bits.
Front bum.
Doesn't mean butt.
No.
No. Twist it 180 degrees.
Do I have to?
Joe, Beth, and Fanny, is that The Folk in the Faraway Tree or The Wishing Chair?
You are so close.
Folk in the Faraway Tree.
You're so close that I want to give it to you. There's only one more you missed.
The Enchanted Wood.
The Enchanted Wood.
I knew it was one of them.
So you were an Enid Blyton groupie when you were a kid?
Oh my God. We had like a hardcover set of most of those books. I cannot tell you how many times I read them. We did not have a huge amount of money when I was a kid, but all I did was read. And so a lot of my books I read and read and read and read and read. And they were very read books.
I was obsessed with Enid Blyton as a kid, and I loved, this was one of my very most favorite books. I was so obsessed with her that when I was about, I don't remember how old I would have been, maybe 10 or 11, I wrote a letter to the publisher in the UK wanting and asking them to please send it to the author. And they wrote me back to say that she had died the year before.
Oh my God, that's heartbreaking.
I was heartbroken. And so then about 2 or 3 years later, I was way too young to read her biography.
Yeah.
It's called Enid Blyton, A Life or something by Barbara Stoney. And I read all about her life, and she was divorced, and I was heartbroken again because I grew up in small town Saskatchewan, Canada. I'd never heard of divorce. I didn't know anybody that got divorced. It's like,
oh, I would have loved that. My whole family's divorced. I got my grandparents were divorced. My parents were divorced more than once.
Scott, are you nervous?
Yeah.
Quite a big figure in my childhood.
She was
so many books.
huge in mine too.
I can't believe they changed the name.
And I can't believe you would remember the name.
I mean, it was Fanny.
It's fascinating.
Like, how do you forget that?
Yeah.
Especially when it's Dick and Fanny. Like, it's the matching set.
Oh, well, that's why they changed the name. Sounded a little bit gay.
Not in Australia.
I thought everything was gay in Australia.
Wow.
Are you ready for your next one, Scott?
Yeah.
The description of the family of Wakefield. Oh no, I think that's the title of the chapter. Let me go to the first sentence. I was ever of opinion that the honest man who married and brought up a large family did more service than he who continued single and only talked of population. That's actually quite a fantastic opening line. I love it.
Makes me wonder if it's the Vicar of Wakefield because you said Wakefield by mistake.
I did. I kind of gave that one away. We'll leave it in because I totally fucked it up. So I've never read this. Is this Victorian literature? I don't even know where to put it.
Pre-Victorian. It might be sort of this Regency sort of era.
And I didn't notice. Did you like it? Let's see. You.
I think I gave it 3 stars.
You did. You remembered how many stars? So you kind of so.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I think that's about. I don't really remember much about the book, to be honest.
I think that's a really big tell. Like, if you don't remember a lot, then it probably wasn't great.
Yeah, or you remember when they're bad.
Yeah.
You remember when they're bad and you remember when they're good,
But sometimes I just remember being angry, like not necessarily why they were bad. I just remember the emotion of anger.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I should probably move out of the 18th century. Let's try to find something more modern for Nell here.
It'll be easy on my... Scott's read much more old stuff than me.
That was what got me into reading, this idea that you had to read the classics to be well read. So I read the classics.
Right.
You wanted to read everything old ever written.
I figured that there was a correct reading order to get all the references. So you started with the old books and you moved forward. Except I didn't get all the references in the old books when I started with them.
Funny that.
Needed to start with some Gilgamesh and some Homer and stuff.
Yeah. Also, some of the references are cultural and not literary.
Now, on December 8th, 1915, Maggie Cleary had her 4th birthday.
I cannot place that character name at all.
Second sentence.
Yeah.
After the breakfast dishes were put away, her mother silently thrust a brown paper parcel into her arms and ordered her outside.
I mean, that's more familiar.
I have no idea. I can't help you.
No.
Why don't I finish the paragraph, because it's actually quite lovely writing. So Maggie squatted down behind the gorse bush next to the front gate and tugged impatiently. Her fingers were clumsy, the wrapping heavy. It smelled faintly of the Wahine General Store, which told her that whatever lay inside the parcel had miraculously been bought, not homemade or donated.
I feel
Love
like
that opening paragraph.
I feel like it's going to be a book.
You feel like it's going to be a book.
The present is going to be a book.
The parcel. I was going to say yes. This is a first line book challenge, but okay, I got it.
You have a 4-year-old protagonist in around the time of the First World War. Will they age or will they stay that age?
I cannot think what this is.
And where does
But it
Wahine-
is so familiar.
When I was a teenager, this was probably one of the only novels from your country that anybody in my country had ever heard of.
Oh, is this Jessica? No.
No, I don't know what that is. I'd never heard of that one.
There you go.
Now, let me double check that I'm not leading you astray with that clue, because I'm so stupid that maybe I've got the wrong country. Let me double check. Nope, I have not got the wrong country. It's because it came to television. You
No.
guys are too young. That's why.
No idea what it is.
The Thornbirds.
Oh.
The Thornbirds. I was on the right track when I said Jessica. Same author.
Oh, really? I never heard of the other novel.
The Thornbirds. That is Colleen McCulloch.
Colleen McCulloch. And I thought that was a lovely opening paragraph. Makes me want
It was, and I don't actually have fond memories of that book. My mother bought me that book, which is never a good sign.
Oh, you don't have fun.
Wow.
Yeah, but maybe I should have given it fair due.
I see she's no longer with us. She died in 2015.
Oh.
Oh. She had done some collaborations that I had on my bookshelf that were sort of more in the sci-fi.
What, really? That's
Yeah, like really strange, that I read in my teens, and my mom saw her name and then went and bought me all the Colleen McCulloch classics. So I think I read them quite begrudgingly, but that was lovely. That was a lovely paragraph.
Scott, I was trying to find a modern novel, but going through your early archives, I can't find one. So I'm just going to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Legitimately.
really just read the
Classic.
Booktube has made me read modern.
I had to fight to get him to read anything.
So here's one that I saw the movie or the TV, I think a movie when I was a kid, and I loved the movie. I never even particularly caught on to the fact that it was based on a book. So opening sentence. Oh no, I can't do the opening sentence. It gives us the title. The title's in the opening sentence. We'll skip that. That was Dr. Dolittle, and his name is in the opening sentence. So I'm having trouble finding one for you.
He's read lots of books. Most of them are just boring. That's what you're saying. He's got shitful taste.
Definitely had very narrow taste early on.
Yes.
I approve of your narrow taste. I also approve of how it's expanded, but we were on the same page. This is a book that I have read maybe twice, and that certainly I don't remember reading it the first time, but the second time I loved it. That is not going to be much of a clue for you, but I didn't remember the opening line, and I think the opening line is not particularly helpful, but let's start with the opening line, Scott. I had the story bit by bit from various people, and as generally happens in such cases, each time it was a different story. You can't get it from that?
I like that line though.
It is lovely, but boy, it doesn't really narrow things down, does it? It's not like having Dr. Dolittle in the first line.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get that. I don't.
So we go to wait a minute. Yeah, I can do the second sentence. The third sentence has the title in it, but the second sentence, if you know Starkfield, Massachusetts, you know the post office.
Starkfield, Massachusetts.
I'm willing to give you the third sentence, but I will go beep beep leave out the title in the third sentence. But if you know the post office, you must have seen beep beep drive up to it, drop the reins on his hollowback bay, and drag himself across the brick pavement to the white colonnade. And you must have asked who he was.
Is it Ethan Frome?
Yes! You guys are good.
Good job.
Did you like it, Scott? Do you remember whether you liked it?
I don't remember whether I liked it, to be honest.
You gave it 3 stars. I gave it 4. I don't know. I think my first reading I gave it 4. I think it was a 5-star read the second time I read it. Edith Wharton.
My memory of it does actually feel very much like a book I would have liked from the storyline that I can remember.
Were these a lot of these books that you studied in university?
No, I didn't. I studied maths and science in university.
You didn't study books?
I didn't study books. No. Yeah, no, I just
Scott's a physicist.
I always wanted to read the
I don't know what to do with that information. That's fascinating.
I laugh at it usually.
But I don't remember. Maybe it was one of the ones that I skipped reading, but I read it again. I read it again, or for the first time about 5 years ago, and loved it. So what do you think? Should we do one more for Nelle and then wrap it up?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. This is quite a famous modern novel that I've never read. Are you ready?
Ready.
My first name was Salmon, like the fish. First name, Susie.
Susie Salmon.
Who is Susie Salmon?
Second sentence is a dead giveaway, but maybe you've had
You
enough
might
drinks.
have
It won't be a
to.
dead giveaway. It doesn't have the title in the second sentence.
Yeah. Susie Salmon. No.
Would you like the second sentence?
Yeah.
I was 14 when I was murdered on December 6th, 1973.
Oh, of course. The Lovely Bones.
Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. Yes. I have never read
Yeah.
it. Everybody says it's amazing.
It really is. I really liked the style of writing as well as I actually think it was a style book for me rather than the story is interesting. Have you seen the movie? Do you know the story?
No.
That is it, but I really think it was a style book for me, and that's why I really liked it. And then when I went to see the movie is very visual, quite cinematic, and that felt right to me. Just because both of them, it was a stylistic impression that really impressed me. That's one of those ones that I think the adaptation actually did a good job.
Okay, I was just going to ask you.
Yeah.
And is she a one-hit wonder? Has she written anything else?
I don't know. I've never read anything else by her, and it
I think she has.
never sorted out either, which is unusual for me. Normally, once I like something, especially if it's a style book.
Yeah, I see a few on Goodreads. Lucky and the Almost Moon, but I don't know anything about them. So.
Might be worth looking into. Very nice writing.
Yeah, I heard the writing was good. I think that I used to have a copy of this when I joined the Book of the Month Club. I think I joined the Book of the Month Club about 5 times, but I think if I tried to join the Book of the Month Club again, I would get arrested because I never ever paid for any of the books.
Funny.
Yeah, I had a copy of it one time. I don't think I have it anymore, but
I'm pretty sure I've still got a copy of it, and I think it's on my to be read shelf because that and Room
By Emma Donoghue.
by Emma Donoghue, I've put them back on my to be read because I want to read them again.
well, I think that you and I should do a pseudo buddy read of the lovely, what is it? The Lovely Bones.
Yeah, let's do it.
And the Room I loved. Yeah, it's the only thing
Yeah.
by that author. What's her name? Emma Donoghue. It's the only
Emma
thing by
Donoghue.
Emma Donoghue that I loved, but I did love it. Yeah.
I'm quite interested to read her latest one, the one that's in a maternity ward, because everyone keeps telling me how confronting the vagina talk is. And my best friend is a doula, so I don't think you can possibly confront me. Be more confronting.
Sorry, your best friend is what?
A doula.
That's like a midwife?
Similar,
yeah.
Mhm.
She would yell at me for saying that.
What?
Yes.
Where does that word originate from? Is it an Australian word?
No.
'Cause I've heard the word, but I can't place it. Is it like from India?
It's definitely like a doula is like a traditional role of like a non-medical midwife. It's someone who doesn't have someone from the community who doesn't have medical training, but will sort of hold your hand while you give birth, sort of thing, and is there in the interests of the mother rather than necessarily the interests of the baby, because everyone else is most concerned with the baby.
Very interesting.
But yes,
It's a Hindi word.
it's a Hindi word.
I thought it was India. I thought I'd maybe read it shown up in some of Indian novels I'd read.
Oh, and it means husband.
Oh, and that makes sense because it's really like almost that husband stand-in. Like now that husbands are sort of more accepted in the birthing suite.
All right. Well, this was a fun, unreciprocated first line challenge. So I need some reciprocation next time, Scott and Nelle. So let's do this again, and you guys can quiz me.
Yes.
Yes.
That sounds like heaps of fun.
That
Yes,
sounds
it
like
does. Thank you very much.
Okay.